Today I'm going to be resetting the NHL and seeing what happens. We're going to sim a fantasy draft and we're going to check out which players are on which teams. This is going to be interesting. So just looking at the first round here, I have a few things that are a bit skeptical. First off being the Toronto Maple Leafs took Cale Makar over Connor McDavid. That is absolutely wild. McDavid is also going to be a Pittsburgh Penguin. Austin Matthews also goes to Arizona. Victor Hedman is a Carolina Hurricane. Jack Hughes is a San Jose Shark. Pray for him. Brad Marchand on the Tampa Bay Lightning. That is weird. Sidney Crosby is a Vegas Golden Knight. And Patrick Kane is an Ottawa Senator. The league has been flipped upside down. Now let's check out the teams. Anaheim went with the two Russian machines, Alex Ovechkin and Evgeny Malkin. They also have Anze Kopitar, Mark Stone, Jeff Skinner. Defensively, they have Rasmus Dahlin. Austin Matthews is going to be heading home to Arizona with Gabriel Landeskog and Tom Wilson. Also, Mika Zibanejad. Boston is going to have a first line of Max Pacioretty, Alexander Barkov, and Cole Haufield. Boston's going to have a first line of Pacioretty, Barkov, and Caulfield. Decent team for Boston. Buffalo has a good 1-2 punch with Sebastian Aho and Mitch Marner. Even defensively, they're not very good. The Carolina Hurricanes are not a good team. But the silver lining is they do have Victor Hedman as their number one D-man, and they have a young goalie in Carter Hart in net. Columbus also does not have a good team. Their best player is Igor Shesterkin at a 92. They do have good goaltending, though. Okay, the Calgary Flames are absolutely stacked. Steven Stamkos and Nikita Kucherov are going to be teammates this time on the Calgary Flames, as Calgary has a very good team, actually, and they have Frederick Anderson in net. Chicago has a duo of Patrick Laine and Trevor Zegras, and a defensive pairing of Roman Josi and Tony DeAngelo. Of course, Chicago had to take him. Just stir up the controversy more. Colorado does not have a very good team either. Overall, their team is not very good. Their silver lining is Connor Hellebuck in net. Dallas is for sure competing for a Stanley Cup in year number 1. Dallas has the greatest player of all time and also a very good forward core. The Red Wings are not looking too good outside of Elias Pettersson. Yeah, Edmonton is not looking too good here. They do have Miro Heiskanen though, and Spencer Knight in net. He's only 21 years old, so he's going to grow. The Florida Panthers are very mid. They probably have the best defensive pairing in the entire NHL with Charlie McAvoy and Erik Karlsson, two 90 overall stud defensemen. The LA Kings are the LA Kings. Besides the fact that they have Andrei Vasilevsky, they do have the best goalie in the entire NHL. Minnesota, nothing special here, as per usual. They do have Linus Ullmark though at a 90 overall. Outside of Jason Robertson and Dylan Larkin, Montreal is not very good. Not very good defensively either, and they don't have very good goaltenders. New Jersey has Jordan Kyrou, Sean Couturier, and David Pastrnak as their first line. Outside of that, it's pretty rough. Not bad though. And they have Sergei Bobrovsky in net. The owner of the Nashville Predators in real life is Leon Draisaitl, so it's only fitting they pick him. They have a decent defense core and a decent starting goalie in Logan Thompson. The New York Islanders stay mid. They have Adam Fox, so that is definitely a plus. And they have Jake Ottinger, who is only 23 years old. Tage Thompson is a New York Ranger along with Braden Point and Nikolai Ehlers. So the New York Rangers drafted Lafreniere. He turns out to be a bust, and they still take him in the fantasy draft. New York must really love Alexis Lafreniere. New York also has Darnell Nurse, so that's going to pot a lot of goals in their own net. And they have the psycho that is Robin Lehner in net. Ottawa has went with the Kane duo of Patrick and Evander and Tyler Seguin through the middle. This first line is nicknamed the Riz line. They have a pretty good defensive core as well. And they have Tristan Jarry in the net. Other than Artemi Panarin, the Philadelphia Flyers don't really have any good players. Sean Theodore and Jacob Slavin are their top defensive pairing. The Pittsburgh Penguins get the best player in the game, that is Connor McDavid. They would also pick Jake Gensel, so he's going to stay a Pittsburgh Penguin. They also have Devon Toews and Ilya Samsonov in goal. San Jose would pick up Jack Hughes and William Nylander. Pray for those two. St. Louis is going to be competing for that first overall pick, unless Quinn Hughes goes absolutely bananas and Ilya Sorokin steals the show. A 91 overall 27-year-old. Other than Brad Marchand, Tampa is not looking too hot. Defensively, they're very mid. Toronto takes their hometown kid, John Tavares, and they have the stud that is Cale Makar on D. Remember, they also took Cale Makar first overall, which I find absolutely wild. The Vancouver Canucks actually take Bo Horvat, even after trashing them in his post-game interview. Did anyone see that? They also have Mikko Rantanen at a 93. Sid the Kid is heading to Vegas, along with the young gun Mo Seider. Kaprizov is going to live in Winnipeg. Pray for him. They would also pick up Shane Wright. Here's another team that is going to be competing for the number 1 overall pick. Not a very good team overall. We are on our way to 10K subscribers. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe. Turn notifications on so you don't miss a single upload. Let's get into the video. At the end of year 1, this is what the entire league standings look like. Ottawa finishes above all with 54 wins, along with Calgary having an amazing regular season. They would have 53 wins. Finishing dead last in the NHL is the Carolina Hurricanes with 28 wins, along with the Winnipeg Jets and the Detroit Red Wings, a familiar bottom of the NHL besides Carolina. Here's who led the NHL in points this year. Obviously, it's going to be Connor McDavid. Alexander Barkov will come in second place with 102 points, and then Sidney Crosby, Austin Matthews, Gabriel Landeskog. Wait, Gabriel Landeskog hit 100 points? All right, my guy. A slow first season for the greatest player of all time, only 43 goals and 93 points. McDavid would have the most goals in the entire NHL with 51, followed by Brad Marchand and Kyle Connor with 48 apiece. Adam Fox would have the most assists by any player. Tristan Jarry would actually have the most wins out of any goaltender with 41. Matty Beniers has the most points out of any rookie with 59. He would also have 22 goals. Kuzmenko would actually have more goals than him with 24. Here's what the year 1 playoff bracket is looking like. I guess Toronto would make the right decision selecting Cale Makar first overall, considering they would win the Stanley Cup in year number 1. Evgeny Malkin would have the most points out of any player in the playoffs with 27, followed by Alex Ovechkin and Rasmus Dahlin. Ilya Mikheyev would have the most goals out of any player. Connor McDavid is Connor McDavid. Cale Makar would take home the Conn Smythe. Frederik Andersen would take home the Vezina. Adam Fox would take home the Norris. Alright, now on to year number 2. At the end of year number 2, the Colorado Avalanche would have the best record in the entire NHL, followed by the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Ottawa would also be up here as well. Wow, nobody cracked 50 wins in the entire NHL. That means we have a very competitive league. The Seattle Kraken would have the worst record in the entire NHL by a pretty wide margin too. 41 wins was second place, and Seattle only got 34. Patrick Kane leads the entire NHL in points with 97, followed by Brad Marchand and Kyle Connor. McDavid would only have 91 points and 42 goals. Mikko Rantanen would lead the entire NHL in goals with 55, followed by Jack Eichel and Patrick Kane. Jack Eichel would have 54 goals. That is how you know it's a video game. Tristan Jarry would yet again have the most wins out of any goaltender, this time with 39, and Spencer Knight would have the most shutouts out of any goaltender with 5. And no Connor Bedard for his rookie season. It looks like the team that drafted him must have sent him back down to the WHL. That's EA Sports for you. This is what the year 2 playoff matchups look like. Calgary would end up winning the Stanley Cup, beating Tampa in 5 games. Steven Stamkos would go absolutely off with 34 points in 23 playoff games, followed by Nikita Kucherov and Mark Scheifele. So the duo of Kucherov and Stamkos each put up over 30 points. Calgary easily has the best duo in the entire league. Sidney Crosby would take home the Selke. Nicholas Backstrom would take home the Hart Trophy. Steven Stamkos would take home the Conn Smythe. John Gibson would take home the Vezina. At the end of year 3, the Pittsburgh Penguins finished first in the entire NHL with 48 wins, followed by the Detroit Red Wings and the Vegas Golden Knights. Yet again, no team would crack 50 wins. Buffalo would finish dead last in the entire NHL, despite only having one more win than the Columbus Blue Jackets. Damn, Columbus had 15 overtime losses. Them boys just could not win in overtime. Nikita Kucherov would lead the entire NHL with points with 98, followed by Artemi Panarin and Elias Pettersson. Patrick Kane would have the most goals with 55, followed by Nikita Kucherov and Austin Matthews. Patty Kane at 36 still putting up big numbers. Cale Makar would have 81 assists. Yes, 81. Demko would have the most wins out of any goaltender with 38, followed by Linus Ullmark and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. You're damn straight I got that name right. Linus Ullmark would have the most shutouts with 8. And here's what the year 3 playoff matchups look like. The Red Wings would end up winning the Stanley Cup, beating the Calgary Flames in 5 games. Calgary almost went back-to-back. Kucherov would have the most points in the entire NHL for the playoffs with 28, followed by Mark Scheifele and Elias Pettersson. Elias Pettersson would take home the Hart Trophy and the Conn Smythe. Linus Ullmark wins the Vezina. At the end of year number 4, the Philadelphia Flyers would have the best record in the entire NHL, followed by the Vegas Golden Knights and the Boston Bruins. The Ottawa Senators would finish dead last in the entire NHL with 63 points, followed by the San Jose Sharks and the Chicago Blackhawks. I guess some things never change. Pasternak would have the most points out of any player with 110, followed by Connor McDavid and Jordan Kyrou. Wait a minute, Jordan Kyrou? One of these is not like the other. Pasternak would also have the most goals out of any player with 63, followed by Connor McDavid and Austin Matthews. Here's what the playoff matchups look like. The Philadelphia Flyers would end up winning the Stanley Cup, beating the Arizona Coyotes in 6 games. Mika Zibanejad would have the most points out of any player in the entire playoffs. Tomas Hertl would actually have the most goals with 15. David Pasternak takes home the Maurice Richard and the Art Ross, but somehow does not win the Hart Trophy or the Ted Lindsay. Finally, 4 years in, Connor Bedard wins the Calder Trophy, so he spent an extra 2 years in Regina. Pray for my man. Artemi Panarin would take home the Conn Smythe, and Demko would take home the Vezina. At the end of year 5, the Washington Capitals finished with the best record in the entire NHL with 54 wins, followed by the Philadelphia Flyers and the Montreal Canadiens. This year we have 3 50-win teams. Sadly, the San Jose Sharks would finish dead last in the entire NHL with 61 points, followed by the Boston Bruins and the Winnipeg Jets. The LA Kings would have the most overtime losses in the entire NHL with 14. I don't know why I included that, I just wanted to. The greatest player of all time would lead the entire NHL in points with 120, followed by Mikko Rantanen, Philip Forsberg, Johnny Gaudreau, and Jonathan Huberdeau. This year we actually had 5 100-point scorers, but none better than the greatest of all time. Mikko Rantanen would lead the entire NHL in goals with 61, followed by Nathan MacKinnon and Connor Barlow. Who the hell is this guy? Jonathan Huberdeau would have the most assists in the entire NHL with 74. Luukkonen would have the most wins out of any goaltender with 40, followed by Jesper Wallstedt and Stuart Skinner. Hey, shout out my boy Skinner. Igor Shesterkin would have the most shutouts with 7. And here's what the year 5 playoff matchups look like. Philadelphia takes home the Stanley Cup, beating the Minnesota Wild in 6 games. Again, the greatest player of all time. Adam Fox takes home another Norris. Panarin wins back-to-back Conn Smythe trophies. Luukkonen takes home the Vezina. Philadelphia wins back-to-back titles. That's going to do it for this video, boys. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe. Make sure to turn notifications on so you don't miss a single upload. And remember, don't be silly. Wrap your willy.
All hail Kale.